Rain smeared my windshield as I sat in the half-empty parking lot, my hands trembling around my phone. The bank app glowed in the darkness, showing a number that made my stomach drop. $47,000 missing. Gone. Just like that. I scrolled through the transactions, each one a knife twist. Wire transfer. Wire transfer. Wire transfer. All authorized with my account credentials, all sent to something called EcoVenture Solutions, LLC. Evan's last text still sat unanswered on my screen. Trust me, babe. This is for our future. What future? I wanted to scream. The future where I worked overtime for 3 years to save that money? The future where I skipped vacations and packed lunches while he talked about dreams? My name is Sienna Brooks. I'm 31 years old, and I'm a financial analyst in San Diego. I spent my career reading numbers, spotting patterns, catching inconsistencies. How did I miss this? How did I let the man I loved, the man I was planning to marry, steal everything I had worked for? The rain pounded harder against the glass, and I realized I was crying. 6 months earlier, everything felt perfect. Evan Rhodes had walked into my life like something out of a romantic movie. We met at a coffee shop downtown where I stopped every morning before work. He was reading a book about sustainable energy, and when our eyes met, he smiled like he had been waiting for me his whole life. "Is this seat taken?" he had asked, gesturing to the chair across from mine. That was how it started. Small conversations that stretched into long ones. Coffee dates that became dinner dates. He told me about his dreams of starting an eco-friendly company, something that would change how people thought about energy consumption. His passion was infectious. He spoke with his hands, his green eyes lighting up when he described solar panels and wind turbines. I found myself drawn to his optimism, his belief that he could make the world better. He made me feel like I was part of something bigger than spreadsheets and quarterly reports. Within 2 months, we were inseparable. Evan would leave handwritten notes on my desk at work, somehow slipping past security to surprise me. "Thinking of you," written in his messy handwriting. We spent weekends exploring San Diego, walking along the beach, sharing plans for the future. He talked about buying a house together, maybe something with a small vineyard where we could host friends and watch sunsets. "You're so grounded, Sienna," he told me one night over soft jazz and candlelight. "You balance me out. I dream big, but you know how to make things real." I love that about us. He was the dreamer, I was the practical one. Together, we made sense. When he proposed 3 months into our relationship, I said yes without hesitation. The ring was simple but beautiful, exactly what I would have chosen. He knew me so well, or so I thought. We set a date for a small wedding at a vineyard, something intimate with close friends and family. The first red flag appeared, so subtly I almost missed it. I came home one evening to find a shopping bag on our kitchen counter, expensive designer clothes with tags still attached. The receipt showed nearly $2,000 spent at a boutique I had never heard of. "Evan, what's this?" I asked when he came out of the bedroom. He glanced at the bag and smiled quickly. "Oh, that. I had a meeting with potential investors. Had to look the part, you know? First impressions matter in business." It made sense. He was trying to get his startup funded. Of course, he needed to look professional. But something nagged at me. The smile had come too quickly, too smoothly, like he had practiced the answer. I pushed the feeling down. I was being paranoid. This was the man I was going to marry. Trust was the foundation of everything. But over the following weeks, more receipts appeared. Dinners at expensive restaurants I had never been to. Purchases at stores I didn't recognize. My training as a financial analyst made me naturally observant of patterns and numbers. I started noticing inconsistencies. Evan talked constantly about meeting with investors, about business trips to Los Angeles and San Francisco, but there were never any contracts, never any concrete progress. His startup remained frustratingly vague whenever I asked for details. "You worry too much, babe," he would say, kissing my forehead. "To start up stuff. Building relationships takes time. These investors need to trust me first." One name kept appearing in his phone notifications, Marcy Rhodes. He would step outside to take her calls, speaking in low tones I couldn't quite hear through the walls. When I asked about her, he was casual, dismissive. "She's my business partner." handles the investment side while I focus on the technical aspects. Business partner. The words felt wrong somehow, but I couldn't explain why. I had never met Marcy, never seen a photo, never been invited to any meetings. For someone so important to Evan's future, she was strangely invisible. The discovery happened on a Tuesday night. Evan had left his laptop open on the kitchen table while he took a shower. I wasn't snooping, not intentionally. I just needed to check my own email, and my phone was charging in the bedroom. His screen was unlocked, displaying a folder labeled Eco Venture Files. My hands moved before my brain could stop them. I clicked. Inside were dozens of documents, incorporation papers, bank statements, investment proposals. My heart started pounding as I scrolled through them. Then I saw it. My signature. Digital copies of my signature on documents I had never signed. Authorization forms using my social security number. Bank routing information for accounts I didn't recognize. The shower was still running. My hand shook as I pulled out my phone and started taking photos, capturing every document, every forged signature, every piece of evidence. The smell of cold coffee from my morning cup mixed with the scent of printer ink from papers scattered nearby. I felt sick. I sat frozen at that table long after I heard the shower turn off. Evan emerged, hair wet, smiling at me like nothing was wrong. Like he hadn't just stolen my identity to fund his fake business. Like he hadn't forged my name dozens of times. Hey babe, want to order takeout tonight? I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw a stranger. How had I missed this? The man I thought I knew, the man who wrote me love notes and talked about our future, was a fraud. Everything had been carefully staged. The romance, the proposal, the dreams. All of it designed to get access to my money, my credit, my life. Sure, I heard myself say, my voice hollow. Whatever you want. That night, I lay awake beside him, listening to him breathe. Each exhale felt like a mockery. He slept peacefully while my world crumbled. By morning, I had made a decision. I wasn't going to collapse. I wasn't going to fall apart. I was going to investigate, gather evidence, and make him pay. At work the next day, I confided in Jordan Kim. He worked in data security at my firm, a quiet, brilliant analyst who had helped me countless times with technical problems. We had coffee sometimes, talked about work, shared the occasional complaint about office politics. If anyone could help me trace Evan's digital footprint, it was Jordan. Sienna, this is serious, Jordan said, his face grave as I showed him the photos on my phone. This isn't just relationship drama. This is identity theft, fraud, possibly more. You need to be careful. I know. That's why I need your help. Can you trace where the money went? Track the digital signatures? I need to know how deep this goes. Jordan studied me for a moment, then nodded. I'll help you, but we do this carefully. If he finds out you're investigating, he might disappear with whatever he's already taken. We agreed to work discreetly. Jordan would use his access to run background checks, trace IP addresses, and follow the money trail. I would continue acting normal at home, playing the role of the trusting fiancé while building my case. Jordan's findings arrived 3 days later. We met in a quiet corner of a coffee shop far from our office, far from anywhere Evan might see us. Jordan slid a folder across the table, his expression grim. It's worse than we thought. Evan created multiple shell companies using your information. Eco Venture Solutions is just one of them. There are at least 4 others, all registered in different states. He's been siphoning money through fake invoices and wire transfers. My hands trembled as I opened the folder. Bank statements showed thousands of dollars flowing through accounts I had never opened. All of them routed back to one central account, registered under the name Marcy Rhodes. Who is she? I asked, though part of me already knew the answer. Jordan pulled up a document on his tablet. That's the interesting part. Marcy Rhodes. Her maiden name was Marcy Caldwell. Changed it 5 years ago after a bankruptcy filing. But here's the thing, Sienna. Her original birth certificate lists her last name as Rhodes. Same as Evans. The coffee shop seemed to tilt around me. They're related? She's his older sister. The betrayal doubled in that moment. Marcy wasn't just a business partner. She was family. They had planned this together, siblings working in tandem to defraud unsuspecting women. Because I couldn't be the first. This operation was too smooth, too practiced. They had done this before. I remembered the dinner. 3 months ago, Evan had insisted I meet Marcy, his business partner. She had arrived at the restaurant in expensive clothes, her smile too bright, her compliments too sweet. Evan always finds the smartest women, she had said, squeezing my hand across the table. You must be so proud of what he's building. At the time, I had taken it as a compliment. Now I heard the real message. You're just another Mark. Another smart woman foolish enough to trust my brother. The memory made my skin crawl. She had looked me in the eye, knowing exactly what they were planning, and smiled. What do I do? I asked Jordan, my voice barely a whisper. You fight back. But we need to be smart about this. Jordan connected me with Laura Quinn, a financial attorney who specialized in fraud cases. We met in her office the following week, a sleek space overlooking the San Diego harbor. Laura was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor that immediately put me at ease. She reviewed the evidence Jordan and I had compiled, her expression darkening with each page. This is federal fraud, she said finally. Mail fraud, wire fraud, identity theft. Both Evan and his sister are looking at serious prison time if we can prove intent and execution. Can we prove it? I asked. With what you've gathered? Yes. But here's my advice. Don't confront them yet. Let them think they're safe. Let them make their next move. The more evidence we have of ongoing fraud, the stronger your case becomes. It went against every instinct I had. I wanted to scream at Evan, to throw the evidence in his face and watch him crumble. But Laura was right. Patience would be more powerful than anger. Let them hang themselves, Laura said. Then we strike. Playing normal became the hardest performance of my life. I came home each evening and smiled at Evan. I laughed at his jokes. I listened to his endless stories about investor meetings that I now knew were complete fiction. Every kiss felt like poison. Every I love you was a lie I had to swallow. But I gathered evidence. I kept the recording app on my phone running during conversations. I photographed every document he left carelessly around the apartment. I forwarded every suspicious email to a secure account Jordan had set up for me. Slowly, methodically, I built my case. One evening, as Evan talked excitedly about a breakthrough meeting with potential investors, an idea formed in my mind. A way to expose him publicly, dramatically, in a way that would ensure he faced consequences not just legally, but socially. His entire scam relied on charm and trust. What if I took that away in the most public way possible? Evan, I said, interrupting his story, what if we hosted a launch event? A gala to showcase eco-venture to potential investors? I could help you plan it. His eyes lit up. Really? That's a great idea, babe. You always know how to make things happen. The planning began immediately. I rented an upscale venue in downtown San Diego, a beautiful space with floor-to-ceiling windows and a stage perfect for presentations. I designed invitations and sent them to local business reporters, investors, and community leaders, all under the guise of a charity event supporting renewable energy initiatives. Evan ate it up. He saw it as validation, proof that his scam was working perfectly. He spent hours preparing his speech, practicing in front of the mirror, completely unaware that I was preparing something very different. Jordan helped me set up the technical side. Hidden cameras, a live stream that would broadcast to multiple platforms, and most importantly, a presentation I had built myself. Every forged document, every fraudulent transaction, every piece of evidence compiled into a devastating slideshow. Are you sure about this? Jordan asked the night before the gala. Once you do this, there's no going back. His life will be destroyed. I thought about the $47,000 he had stolen, the years of savings, the skipped vacations, the overtime hours. I thought about Marcy's fake smile and Evan's practice lies. He destroyed his own life, I said. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. The night of the gala arrived with perfect weather. The venue glowed with soft lighting, champagne glasses sparkled on tables, and well-dressed guests mingled, chatting about business and opportunity. I wore a red dress, simple but elegant, my hair pulled back in a way that made me look calm and composed. Inside, my heart hammered against my ribs. Evan worked the room like a politician, shaking hands, laughing at jokes, charming everyone he spoke to. Marcy had arrived earlier, playing her role as the sophisticated business partner. She wore a black dress and pearls, looking every bit the successful entrepreneur. They had no idea what was coming. Laura stood near the back of the room, barely visible among the crowd. She had alerted the authorities earlier that day. Police were positioned outside, waiting for my signal. Jordan monitored the live stream from a small control room, making sure every camera captured every angle. At 8 o'clock, the lights dimmed. It was time for Evan's big moment, his speech to the gathered crowd. He took the stage, microphone in hand, his smile confident and bright. Evan's speech was perfect. He talked about innovation, about sustainability, about building a better future for everyone. The crowd listened, impressed. Some people nodded along, clearly convinced by his passion and polish. He was good at this, I realized. He had probably convinced dozens of people before me, maybe hundreds. His whole life was a performance, and he had perfected every line. When he finished, applause filled the room. He bowed slightly, soaking in the approval. Then his eyes found mine in the crowd, and he smiled. That smile that used to make my heart race now made me feel nothing but cold determination. I walked toward the stage, my heels clicking against the floor. The room grew quiet as I took the microphone from Evan's hand. "Thank you all for coming tonight," I said, my voice steady despite my racing pulse. "Before we continue, I'd like to share something important. Something about transparency in business." Evan's smile faltered slightly. Confusion flickered across his face. Behind me, the large screen that had displayed his company logo suddenly changed. The first image appeared, a bank statement showing $47,000 transferred to EcoVenture Solutions. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phone cameras started rising as people sensed something dramatic unfolding. The images continued, one after another. Forged signatures, fake incorporation documents, wire transfer records, text messages between Evan and Marcy discussing their latest mark. Every piece of evidence I had gathered over the past month displayed in high definition for everyone to see. Evan's face went white. He reached for the microphone, but I stepped back, keeping it away from him. "This man," I said, my voice carrying across the silent room, "used my identity to create fake companies. He forged my signature, stole my money, and planned to disappear once he had taken everything I owned. And he did it with help from his sister, Marcy Rhodes, who's standing right there." All eyes turned to Marcy. She had frozen near the exit, her hand on the door handle. For a moment, I thought she might run. But then she saw the police officers who had just entered, blocking her escape route. Her face crumbled, the sophisticated mask falling away to reveal panic underneath. Evan finally found his voice. "Sienna, what are you doing? This is insane. You're ruining everything." "No," I said calmly. "You ruined everything when you decided to steal from me. I'm just making sure everyone knows exactly who you are." The live stream chat exploded with comments, Jordan told me later. Thousands of people watching in real time, sharing the feed, spreading it across social media. Within minutes, #StartupFraud was trending locally. The reporters in the crowd filmed everything, their cameras capturing Evan's shocked face, Marcy's failed escape attempt, and my steady composure as I handed the microphone to one of the police officers who had approached the stage. "Evan Rhodes, Marcy Rhodes, you're both under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy," the officer announced. Watching them get handcuffed should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. Tired of the lies, tired of the betrayal, tired of having to be strong when all I wanted was to fall apart. But I stayed standing, stayed composed, because I refused to let them see me break. The viral explosion happened overnight. By morning, my inbox was flooded with messages from news outlets requesting interviews. The video of the gala had been viewed millions of times, shared across every platform. People called me brave, inspiring, a hero for exposing fraud so publicly. Some criticism came too. People who thought I had been too harsh, too dramatic. But the overwhelming response was support. Other women started coming forward. Women who had been targeted by Evan and Marcy before, who had lost money or nearly lost money to their schemes. Each story followed the same pattern. Whirlwind romance, talk of business ventures, requests for financial help, then disappearance. I wasn't their first victim. I was just the first one who fought back publicly. Jordan stopped by my apartment 3 days after the gala. He brought coffee and a folder full of news clippings, his way of checking on me without making it obvious he was worried. "You doing okay?" he asked. I shrugged. "I don't know. I keep waiting to feel something other than numb." "That's normal. You've been in survival mode for weeks. Your brain needs time to process everything." The legal proceedings moved quickly. With so much evidence and public attention, both Evan and Marcy's attorneys advised them to accept plea deals. Evan pleaded guilty to multiple counts of fraud and identity theft. Marcy, trying to reduce her sentence, testified against him, revealing details of their operation that made my stomach turn. They had been running these schemes for 5 years, targeting successful women across multiple states. They had stolen nearly $2 million combined, using the money to fund luxury lifestyles while their victims struggled to rebuild their finances and their trust in people. I attended every court hearing, sitting in the gallery and watching Evan's transformation. The charming entrepreneur disappeared, replaced by someone small and defeated. He never looked at me, never tried to apologize or explain. Maybe he knew there was nothing he could say that would make any difference. When the judge announced his sentence, 12 years in federal prison, I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief, just emptiness where love used to be. Lara fought hard for restitution, and she won. Every dollar Evan had stolen from me was returned, plus damages for the emotional harm and the violation of my identity. My credit was cleared, all the fraudulent accounts closed, and my financial reputation restored. Legally, I was whole again. Emotionally, I was still rebuilding. Jordan continued checking on me, our coffee meetings becoming a regular thing. We didn't talk about Evan or the case. Instead, we talked about work, about books, about plans for the future. Slowly, I started feeling like myself again. Not the person I was before Evan, but someone different. Stronger, maybe. More cautious, definitely. But also more aware of my own resilience. 3 months after the sentencing, my boss called me into her office. I expected a routine performance review. Instead, she offered me a promotion to senior analyst, praising my attention to detail and my ability to handle pressure with grace. "What you did took courage," she said. "Not just the legal fight, but continuing to show up here every day and do your job well. That's the kind of leadership we need." I kept the gala invitation pinned to my desk, a reminder of the night everything changed. Underneath it, I had written in small letters, "Proof is the best revenge." Some days, looking at it made me proud. Other days, it just made me sad for the person I had been 6 months ago, so trusting and naive. My sister flew in from Seattle to spend a weekend with me. We sat on my balcony, drinking wine and watching the sunset, and she asked the question everyone seemed to want to ask, but rarely did. "Do you regret it?" The public exposure, I mean. You could have just pressed charges quietly. I thought about it, really thought about it. "No," I finally said. If I had done it quietly, Evan and Marcy would have just disappeared and found new victims. This way, everyone knows who they are. They can't charm their way into someone else's life and bank account. "You saved other people," my sister said quietly. Maybe I had. That thought helped on the days when the anger and hurt felt overwhelming. 6 months later, I stood outside the federal courthouse for the final hearing. The media had mostly moved on to newer stories, but a few cameras still lingered, hoping for a statement. I had learned to handle them with brief, polite responses that said nothing of substance. Inside, Marcy's sentencing was brief. 8 years for her role as an accomplice. She cried as the judge spoke, claiming she had been manipulated by her brother, that she regretted everything. I didn't believe her tears. She had smiled at me over dinner, called me smart, all while planning to rob me. Whatever remorse she felt now was only because she had been caught. As I left the courthouse, one reporter managed to get close enough to ask a question. "Sienna, what do you want people to know about your experience?" I paused, considering. Then I looked directly at the camera. I didn't ruin his life, I said quietly. He built his own downfall. I just sent the invoice. The clip went viral again. My words repeated and shared across social media. People made memes, wrote articles analyzing my quote, debated the ethics of public revenge versus private justice. A year after everything began, I met someone new. Not a romantic someone, just a friend who understood what it meant to rebuild trust after betrayal. Her name was Victoria, and we met at a support group for fraud victims. She had been scammed by a different man using similar tactics, and we bonded over coffee and shared stories of recovery. Do you think you'll ever date again? Victoria asked one afternoon. Maybe, I said honestly, but not anytime soon. I need to trust myself first before I can trust someone else. She nodded, understanding completely. We both knew that healing wasn't linear, that some days were harder than others, and that rebuilding after betrayal took time and patience. But we also knew we were stronger than we had been before. We had survived, and survival was its own kind of victory. My career flourished. The promotion led to more opportunities, more respect, more confidence in my abilities. Colleagues who had once seen me as just another analyst now saw me as someone who could handle crisis, who could make tough decisions, who could face adversity without breaking. 2 years later, I received a letter. It came through my attorney, forwarded from the prison where Evan was serving his sentence. For a long time, I stared at the envelope, debating whether to open it. Part of me wanted to throw it away unread, to deny him even this small connection to my life. But curiosity won. The letter was short, written in Evan's familiar handwriting. He apologized, claiming he had been young and stupid, that he regretted everything, that he hoped someday I could forgive him. He didn't make excuses or try to justify what he had done. It was just a simple apology, probably written with guidance from a prison counselor teaching him about accountability. I read it twice, then filed it away. I didn't respond. Forgiveness might come someday, but it wouldn't be today and it wouldn't be for him. If I ever forgave, it would be for myself, to let go of the remaining anger and hurt that occasionally surfaced in quiet moments. Life moved forward. I traveled to places I had always wanted to see. I invested in my friendships. I focused on my career and my own goals, building a life based on my own dreams rather than anyone else's. 3 years after the gala, I stood in the same venue where I had exposed Evan's fraud. This time, I was there for my company's annual charity event, raising money for financial literacy programs for young women. As I looked around the room at the successful, confident women gathered there, I felt proud of how far I had come. Someone approached me, a young woman who looked nervous but determined. "Excuse me, are you Sienna Brooks? I saw your story online. It inspired me to report fraud I was experiencing. Because of you, I got my money back and pressed charges." We talked for a few minutes, and I realized this was the real revenge. Not the public exposure of Evan, not his prison sentence, but the ripple effect of refusing to be a silent victim. Every woman who saw my story and found the courage to fight back. Every person who learned to trust their instincts and question too good to be true situations. That was the legacy I wanted. As the evening ended and I walked to my car, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not happiness, not quite yet, but peace with who I had become and what I had survived. Evan had tried to use me, to steal my money and my future. Instead, he had unknowingly given me something more valuable. Proof of my own strength. Evidence that I could face betrayal and come out stronger on the other side. I didn't destroy him. He built his own downfall, brick by brick, lie by lie. I just made sure the world saw what he had constructed. And in doing so, I built something too. A life based on truth, resilience, and the unshakable knowledge that I would never again let anyone make me doubt my worth. The rain had stopped, and the sky was clear as I drove home, ready for whatever came next.